Buon pomeriggio a tutti.
Ciao, buongiorno. È la prima volta, almeno mi risulta, che cominci il primo giorno del raduno con una conferenza stampa, perché sei molto contento della campagna acquisti che ti hanno fatto?
No, diciamo era per evitare che durante le vacanze parecchi di voi rompessero le scatole. Quindi...
This is a very important verb for us, together with working. Growing is fundamental. We want to grow, also in this case, trying to monitor and add new elements to the team that can therefore help this growth year after year, also considering the economic crisis that has affected all of us.
In questa prospettiva
I do
si sia fatto
think
veramente qualcosa di
that
straordinario, perché
we have done something really
aumentare la
exceptional,
qualità
because
dell'attacco
we
con
have
solo 9
definitely
milioni,
improved
prendendo Tevez
the attack with just
e
9
l'Oriente,
millions
è
with the
veramente
signing of
qualcosa
Tevez. I think
di
it's really
straordinario.
an extraordinary
La testimonianza
achievement,
che c'è un lavoro,
and this clearly
la testimonianza
demonstrates
che c'è un
that we were
progetto,
working
la
hard
testimonianza che ci sono delle persone
because there is a
che
project, because there are
guardano al
people
presente,
who are very
guardano
focused on the present
futuro,
and are very focused on the future
anche in
too,
anticipo, ecco, rispetto a
and
qualcun
we
altro.
are able to take decisions in advance compared to others. Hello, Antonio.
A Bardoniecchia nel 2011
In
tu
Bardoniecchia in
parasti la squadra,
2011
più o
you talked
meno
about
si viene da
the
2 settimi
team.
posti, roba da pazzi, bisogna smettere
You
di fare
said
schifo.
that we have to
Questo
stop
ti chiedo
being ranked
cosa si
second
dice a una
and
squadra
we should
che viene
improve.
invece
And so what are
da
you
due
demanding?
campionati vinti.
A
Grazie.
team that has just won the last 2 championships. So
Ma
what are your expectations and
Io penso
requests?
che
Well, I think that
ieri,
yesterday,
quando, quindi 2 anni fa,
well, at least
sicuramente
2 years
c'era una
ago,
realtà non consone
the
alla
situation
storia della
was
Juventus,
completely different and not
perché era da
really
tanti anni che la
appropriate and
Juventus
suitable to the history of
non
Juventus,
vinceva,
because Juventus had
non era
not been
protagonista.
winning for the last few years, so it had not
Oggi
been
diciamo che in
protagonist for
questi 2
some
anni
years, while
la Juventus è
now,
tornata ad
over the
essere
last 2 years, Juventus has
quello che
again
era, quindi a scrivere pagine importanti,
become what it
vincendo,
was in the
come abbiamo
past,
fatto in
so we've
questi
been
due
able to
ultimi
write
anni.
very important pages
Quindi
in our
diciamo che ci siamo
history.
riappropriati
So over the last 2
dell'immagine
years,
che
we've
c'è
been
sempre
able
stata
to
la Juventus in
restore the
Italia,
image that has always
nel
been
mondo.
typical of Juventus
Chi arriva alla
in
Juventus
Italy
già
and all over
lo
the
sa
world. So
in che
all the
squadra sta
people
arrivando,
coming to Juventus, all the new players
c'era
coming to Juventus
e
know
che è
it
stato
very
artefice
well,
di
and
questi 2
so we
ultimi
are all
successi,
aware of
sa che il
these
passato per me non
important
conta,
achievements, and
conta l'oggi,
all these people know
il
that for me the
futuro.
past doesn't
Quindi
matter.
bisognerà
What really
ricominciare
matters
da zero.
is the present and the future. So we
Proprio
have
da
to
zero
start
no,
from
perché
scratch,
abbiamo 2
or
anni di
at least
lavoro,
if not
questo
from scratch,
è
because we have 2 years
è sicuramente un
of
tesoro che dobbiamo
work
sfruttare,
as a
però sappiamo
background,
che
and certainly it is a very important treasure, it is a very
se non c'è
important
grande
legacy that we
disponibilità, se
have
non
to
ci sarà
exploit.
l'umiltà, se non c'è
But
la voglia di
if we are not
sacrificarsi, se non c'è
humble
la
enough,
voglia
if we
di
are not
lavorare, se non c'è la voglia
willing
di
to
superarsi
sacrifice, to work and to
giorno per
overcome
giorno
our
sulla
limits
fatica, allora
day by day, and to make great effort, well,
non
otherwise
faremo delle
we
cose
won't be
importanti
able to
quest'anno.
be successful and to get
Questo sarebbe sicuramente
great achievements. So that's what we have to
non
do
bello.
for next year.
Ciao Antonio.
Hey Antonio, before you praised the club because you said that the club was able to make important decisions in advance by spending only 9 million to improve the attack the forward area. So did you really trust the club when you talked to Agnelli at the beginning, and are you a little bit disappointed about Giaccherini's departure? Well, in this type of operations, the club and I are the same thing, so I'm not here to praise the club, but actually I'm here to praise what we have all done together. And very often when we try to make a distinction, that's not right. So we are one single thing, both when good things happen and negative things happen. So we have tried to work in the best way, taking into account the current financial and economic crisis, because that can't be underestimated. It exists. And we experience it day by day, because when there are some new signings, of course, we also have to sell some players in order to make ends meet. And so we've been really good because we've been able to acquire the right players at the right time with very clear ideas, because I think it's very important in football to have very clear ideas and knowing exactly where we want to go, what our direction, where we need to improve, and what type of actions need to be taken. And it's quite inevitable that sometimes we also have to renounce, to make some, to give up to some players, because, as I said before, in economic crisis, we have to spend 9 million for Tevez, then we have to sell some other players in order to get this money back. I don't know whether Manuele's departure is official or not, but certainly all these young players have been working over the last 2 years. Well, of course, it's still a great pain when they depart, when they leave the team, because they're all very important to me. But apart from this, I do understand what's the current situation, what type of needs we have as a club, and I also see that the player and the consideration is appreciated by other clubs, and so an important contract has been proposed. So from this point of view, I'm extremely happy for him. But if I have to say whether I'm really happy that Giaccherini is leaving the club, that is leaving the team, well, of course, I'm not really happy. Probably, specifically for this reason, do you think there will be other departures? So how do you manage this situation? So a group that starts working, but there are already some players who know that will probably leave. So how do you normally manage this type of situation? Well, we have now started with a group of players that, for me, is really, really important. We have a very close relationship, and it couldn't be otherwise, because I always thank these players for all the things they have done over the last 2 years, for their great willingness and commitment. We have lived very important moments all together, so all of them to me are extremely significant. And there are all players of my team, so it's a pleasure to train all of them, and I do it, as I've always done, with great enthusiasm, with great passion, being aware of the fact that these players have helped my team win in the past, and they will help me win also in the future. Good afternoon. The first year it was impossible to win the Scudetto, the first attempt, and you said it was very difficult to reaffirm after the second year. So what adjective would you use to define in this third season? And you're actually favoured this season. And do you think that the team is complete, or do you think that there might be a problem with kind of overcrowding, especially in the attack? Well, I think that for the next season, for the next year.
terzo anno,
Well, this is
dopo
my third year
due annate
after
sicuramente
2
strepitose, straordinarie
exceptional,
sotto tutti i punti di
extraordinary years from all points of
vista.
view.
Come ho già
And
detto,
as I've already said,
vincere era difficilissimo, rivincere era molto difficile.
winning was very
Il terzo
difficult.
anno
Winning
sarebbe
again
storico,
was
questo è quello
even
che
more
contiamo.
difficult, and obviously a third win would be an historical
storia della
breakthrough,
Juventus,
especially in the history of Juventus.
Come abbiamo detto in precedenza,
As we
solamente
said
dal 30-35,
before, it
c'è
only
stata questa
happened from 1930 to
hegemonia, no?
1935 that it was this type
Sappiamo
of
che
hegemony
sarà
by the
molto
club,
difficile
so we know that
ripetersi.
it will be
Però
extremely
sappiamo
difficult
anche
to
che,
repeat this important enterprise, but at the same
se avremo
time
voglia di
we also know
lavorare, se
that
avremo
if we
voglia
are
di
willing to work
soffrire,
hard
se
and to
avremo
make
voglia
sacrifices
di
and to suffer
buttarci con
and
entusiasmo, con passione,
to
superare tutti gli ostacoli, sappiamo anche
overcome all our obstacles with great passion, with great
che
enthusiasm,
possiamo ambire
we'll
a fare qualcosa
probably
di
can
storico. Sappiamo
really
che è molto, molto
we can be
difficile,
ambitious
però,
and try to
ripeto, al
achieve
di là
an historical success,
di chi può
but
arrivare, di chi può partire,
apart from
l'importante è che
the
la
various
mentalità,
acquisitions and
la
departures, the
voglia
important thing
rimanga
is that
intatta,
the
sia da parte di quei
mentality
giocatori
remains
che
the
oggi stanno lavorando
same,
con me,
both by those
e
players
anche
that
e
are
soprattutto
currently
forse
working with
dei
me,
giocatori
and
che oggi
especially
non ci sono
with
e
those
sono
players that are
in
not here
vacanza
at the moment and they
sono
are on
nazionali.
holiday or they are playing with the national
Sicuramente molto
team.
dipenderà dallo
So a
zoccolo
lot
duro,
will depend
dannata
on
nostra.
the
Io mi auguro
core
che tutti
of these
quanti
players, and I hope that all of
possiamo vedere le
all
grandi
of
motivazioni.
us
Io da questo
can
punto di
be
vista sono
extremely
sicuro perché
motivated, but I'm
conosco
absolutely
troppo
sure
bene e so
about
che
this. I
tutti quanti
know
hanno voglia
these players
di
very
stupire,
well,
di
and I
fare
know
qualcosa
that
di
they all
straordinario.
want to surprise people and to do something, to achieve something which is really extraordinary.
No, cioè è un rischio sovraffollamento in attacco.
Well, the
Adesso
overcrowding in the
Adesso siamo sì
attack, I don't
attaccanti.
think so. Well, we have now 6 strikers, and
vedremo
we'll
cosa
see what
accadrà.
will happen.
Tutti sanno benissimo che
We all know that
il mister non ha preferenze, il
Mr. The
guarda,
coach doesn't have
dalla
any
testa al
favorites
collo
or
quando
preferences,
sceglie un
so
giocatore. Non è che
basically
qualcuno
I just choose
oggi parte
my
avvantaggiato
players
o parte titolare nella mia testa.
according to
La
their
titolarità,
physical
l'importanza la si
performance,
conquista sul
and
campo,
so the
la si
important
conquista durante
thing
la settimana,
is
durante
how
gli
they
allenamenti
perform on the
e poi in
pitch.
partita.
Everything
Ho grande
depends
stima e
on their
ammirazione
training,
per,
so
ripeto,
obviously
tutti i
I
ragazzi che
admire and I have great
hanno contribuito in
esteem
questi 2
of
anni
all the players that
a
over the
fare grandi
last 2
cose.
years have
Quindi
contributed to
non vedrei
do
nessun
great
problema.
things. So basically, I don't think it will be a problem. Good afternoon, Mister. So all the new signings that you think have reduced the gap between Juventus and the top clubs, for example, Bayern München, and so do you think that with these new signings, and the last one, Ogbonna, has really contributed to reduce this gap?
Io penso che
Well,
sia troppo
I
semplicistico
think that
il
it's
discorso che
really
fate voi.
too simplistic to make this type of reasoning,
siate
because you think that according to the new signings and to the new players we can actually reduce this gap or not. Well, I can say that compared to Barcelona, as they got Neymar, certainly the gap has raised from this point of view. Bayern has won everything and has already purchased Getze, and maybe there will be other signings. So what do you think that from this point of view the gap compared to Juventus has been further expanded? Well, it doesn't really depend on the players and the economic the availability. Well, I think that we'll have to work hard. If we think that it's the only way through which we can reduce the gap, basically we'll never be able to reduce this gap, because all the other clubs from an economic point of view are definitely ahead of us. So if we
20 milioni, prendiamo 3
if
giocatori,
we,
loro
with
con
20
36
million, can get
milioni
3 players, maybe
Preferisco
these other clubs with 36 million can get 1 player. I'm talking about Bayern with Conte, or Dortmund, who is purchasing other players, or Paris Saint-Germain that has been investing 63 million for Cavani. And obviously that's a great gift to Napoli, because with this 63 million Napoli will be able to get on the market with a lot of money, and basically I would have preferred to have Cavani keep on playing with Napoli, because actually we've always beaten Napoli with Cavani, to be honest.
Buongiorno, io volevo chiedere
Good
se
afternoon. I would like to
prima ha
ask,
detto ripartiamo da zero,
well,
azzeriamo
before you
tutto.
said that we have to
Si
reset
possono
everything, that you're
azzerare
going
2
to
anni
start from
di-
scratch. Do you
di
think that it's
trattamento
really
Conte,
possible
cioè
to
di
reset
squadra
2 years of
abbastanza
Conte treatment,
spremuta,
that is,
e
2 years
ripartire
throughout which
davvero da
the
zero,
team has
oppure c'è
been
il timore
squeezed
che
a lot? And so
il
do you
gruppo,
think it's really
possa
possible
un
to
po'
start from
patire
scratch, or
le
maybe
2 stagioni a tutta birra che ha
you
fatto e anche
think
per
that
qualcuno la
the
Confederations Cup?
whole group, the team, might suffer a little bit from the last 2 seasons and also from the Confederations Cup? Well, I actually smile when I hear this definition, the Conte's treatment. Well, you can ask the players whether they're happy and satisfied with the work they've been doing or not. Certainly, I have my own method, and this has helped me win, not only with Juventus, but also with the previous clubs in my previous experience. And the player works as a player, is paid to be a player, to train, and we train the right amount. I think maybe others don't actually train enough. So basically that's the main difference, in my opinion, because sometimes you find some other clubs, some other teams which actually do not train, while instead when the players come to a club or to a team where there is a lot of training, well, that's the difference basically, because here we work a lot. 2 quick questions. So it's just the beginning of the transfer market, but basically what's your impression? What do you think that will be your main rival, your main opponent over the next season? And I'm talking about the ranks over the last 5 years and the different scores. So in your opinion, in Italy, especially now in this time of economic crisis, it's better to have at least 2 7th ranking and then winning 2 Scudettos, or at least being in the top area for playing in the Champions League? Well, I'll start from the last question. I think that nowadays for a team, for a top club, it's very important to qualify for the Champions League, because when you qualify for the Champions, you are able to get certain amount of millions to be invested in order to make the team grow. And now I can say that probably this is the most important thing. But quite inevitably, personally, I do prefer to leave an important mark in history as well. Well, as to the rivals, as the other opponents, well, I think that from now up to the end of August there will be big changes, and certainly there will be teams, other clubs that will be further strengthened. So Napoli is going to invest in 63 million of Cavani, and I think that Napoli has acquired Benitez, which is really a great coach. He has won everything, basically. Sometimes he has been a little bit underestimated, in my opinion, and I think that having Benitez as a coach will certainly make the difference for Napoli. But then, if you ask me whether I'm happy or not with Cavani's departure, well, actually, I have to say that I would have preferred Cavani to stay with Napoli, so that Napoli wouldn't have had so much money to be invested. But certainly, well, another important opponent will be Inter. They have a very nice squad, and they have also a very nice coach. As to Milan, well, don't forget that last year it only lost against us, and then it acquired Balotelli, and then there will be Fiorentina too. With facts and not with words, has already started being considered as one of the top clubs, because they've been able to purchase one of the official players of the German national team, and so from this point of view, Fiorentina has to be considered as a top club that can be ambitious enough in order to attain important targets. And then there is another nice aspect of our football. Gomez, Benitez and Tevez and Llorente, all these people have come to Italy. They have chosen our Italian championship. So it means that our league is a real protagonist, and it is very nice, and I think it's really encouraging and stimulating for all of us, because it will be a great source of pride for me to play against Benitez. Talking about the new champions of the Italian league, however, at the same time there are some other champions that might be lost, for example Jovetic. So do you think, will you particularly disappointed if he goes to play abroad? And talking about another champion that is already with Juventus, Tevez, number 10, so you have seen a lot of number 10, so what do you think about this number that has been assigned to him? Well, Jovetic has a very high price, and I think it's absolutely justified, because I consider him as a very talented top player who can further grow and improve, and probably his price, that is currently 30 million, might further rise. So it's clear that it will go to the club that currently has this money. So in Italy, basically, this money doesn't exist. Well, as to the rest, I have to say, well, a coach, when he is speaking about these things, well, again, I start smiling a little bit. It's not really the number which matters, that is the number that you have on your back, on your jersey. What really matters is what you do on the pitch, your performance on the field and outside the field throughout the week, throughout the day. So this is what really matters. So he could even wear 124 on his jersey, but that's quite relative in my opinion, and life goes on. I have played for many years with number 8, then I left the team, and then 8 was used by other players. Now I'm here as a coach, and I will leave, and then I will be replaced by another coach. What really matters is that Juventus Football Club is still here. And that's what really matters. The important thing is that the players wearing the Juventus jersey, whether it is 125 or 74, will have to pay tribute to this jersey in the best way. They will have to be extremely affectionate. All the players will have to be extremely affectionate to this jersey, with great passion, with great willingness and commitment. So all this has to be demonstrated on the pitch on a daily basis. This is the most important thing, what really matters. And it's I don't know, maybe you can use these numbers and you can bet them, and then if you win I would like to get a percentage too. Hi Antonio, well, talking about Tevez, I would like to know if you already talked to him, so what's your impression? Have you asked anything in particular to him, or maybe he has told you anything in particular? And then from a tactical point of view, considering the arrival of Tevez, Ogbonna, Llorente, do you think that you will start from 3-5-2 arrangement? Because basically this is the type of arrangement that you will keep on using, or maybe there will be some innovations in the defense. We have we have taken these players because they have certain characteristics that are perfectly in line with our principles. So Llorente, Tevez, well, we all know them very well. Tevez in particular is perfectly in line with our playing philosophy. And then Ogbonna, a very young talent that will certainly become one of the strongest defenders, not only in Italy but in general in Europe and maybe also in the world. So we have acquired all these players with a very clear-cut idea, with a very specific mentality and approach. Well, Tevez certainly was particularly hit by his great determination and is really hungry for winning, and that's something that really hit me. So I immediately understood that he's the right player for us.
Semplicemente se mi puoi dare anche un giudizio sui
Could
primi
you
movimenti di Roma e Lazio, in
judge the
particolare di Garcia, siamo
first
conoscenti.
transfers of Roma and Lazio, especially Garcia? What's your judgment? Well, certainly also Garcia's arrival, we have to be considered in the right way, I mean in a positive way, because he's a coach that has done very well in France. He won the Scudetto, so when you win, that doesn't happen by chance. So certainly has a very sound background and will bring his expertise to Roma. We know that the atmosphere, the situation in Rome is not easy at all, but Garcia is a great champion and he will be able to use great champions like Totti and De Rossi, and I'm sure that the performance will be excellent. Well, don't forget that Roma last year and still this year have a very important squad. They also purchased Atia, and now other players are under consideration, some midfielders, as I've read in the newspapers. So I certainly expect some new transfers by Roma and by other clubs, as well as to Lazio. Certainly it has a very strong backbone. They've just won Coppa Italia, and so, as I said before, just like the previous years, it will be a very hard championship. Well, unlike the foreign leagues, well, sometimes there are some dualism, some while here the championship is always very hard, and basically there are at least 4, 5, 6, 7 clubs that compete in order to reach the champions level, and obviously the Champions League is fundamental not only for Juventus but for all the clubs. Well, as for the last 3 years we've been speaking about Dzeko, Tevez, Persie and so on and so forth, so were you a little bit scared and maybe you were not able this year to get these important players, and were you really confident that it was possible to get Tevez? Maybe you thought it could be a newspaper's joke. Well, I do think that Tevez is the player that, according to his own characteristics, his great determination, his great hunger for winning, it was the right one for us. Thank you.